let's get started. We're using a board from Home Depot and Faux Fur Fabric from Shannon Fabrics. I'm starting out by tracing the board onto the fabric using a permanent marker, and what you're going to want to do is trace right around the top and the handle area, but then where the handle is, that's where you're going to start leaving an allowance of about 1.5 to 2 inches, depending on how thick you want your cushion to be. To me, the best way to cut faux fur fabric is using a craft knife and cutting the back of the fabric. This way you're only cutting the backing and you're not going to end up with fur flying everywhere the way you would when you use scissors. And as you can see, when you cut it this way, it's going to lift right out. You get a nice clean cut and no mess. Now I'm using a stabilizer from Fairfield World. This is something that you use to kind of help keep the shape on projects. This one, I'm going to trace it the exact same size as the board. But then I'm going to trim it where the handle is because I don't need any stabilizer there. I just want it on the part under the handle where my cushion's going. Now we're going to start putting it together. I have lined up the stabilizer against the right side of the fur fabric, and I'm going to start pinning it on the bottom edge. Now, because the faux fur is a larger piece than your stabilizer, you're going to have to bunch it up in some places. That's how we make the cushion that we're going to fill up later. So pin around the edges to hold it together to make it easier to sew. This is what it looks like when you have pinned the edges. And that's going to be the cushion part of our lap table. Now we're going to sew along the 3 edges that we've pinned. So that's the 2 sides and the bottom. The top where the handle is still open. All right, let's see what we've got. I'm going to take out all my pins and then flip my project inside out so that my fur fabric is showing. The stabilizer is really nice for helping keep the shape. You'll want to push out the corners there so that you get the same shape that matches your wood tabletop. Now we're going to close up the top. So remember that I cut the stabilizer a little bit smaller than my faux fur fabric. This is right underneath the handle area. I'm going to pin that together so that I can sew most of the top closed, but I'm going to leave a portion open so I can add my stuffing. I've stitched most of the top closed, and now I'm going to take my pins out and use that small opening that I have there to add my Poly-Fil Fiberfill and my Poly-Pellets. I'm combining Poly-Pellets, which are really lightweight, with Poly-Fill so that my table's not too heavy and so that it stays soft. You know, I don't want it to just be the pellets, but we do want the pellets in there because that helps you kind of shape the surface so that it fits nicely in your lap. So first I'm going to put in some of the Poly-Fill, mainly to fill in the corners and the edges. And then I'm going to pour in the Poly-Pellets. And it's really easy to do with this nice packaging because all I have to do is remove the spout and pour it in, and it keeps me from making a mess everywhere. Added a little more Poly-Fill, and then I'm going to pin that last opening shut and sew it closed. I used resin from Plaid Crafts with Plaid Crafts alcohol inks to decorate the surface of the board. You can check out my other videos to see how I do that. Now it's time to put the two pieces together. I'm going to line it up so that the handle on the faux fur fabric matches up with the wood handle. And next I will be using a glue gun from Xyron to attach the pieces together. So start out by gluing the part that's just the fabric. That's the one that really needs to line up perfectly because there's no stabilizer or anything else there. So we want to match it up with the handle, get that glued on, and then we'll move on to the next step. So once the top is glued on, I'm going to start with the center of the cushion that I made, gluing that on, letting it dry, and then I'll work my way out and do the edges last. Juliana loves it, and it matches her room perfectly.